Hey everyone, today we're going to talk about how to harmonize a melody. So the first thing you should probably do when you're going to harmonize melodies, take a look at it, see what kind of melody it is. It has some nice jumps. When it jumps, it steps back. It has a good high point. It's a nice little melody, and we'll listen to it. Nice and pretty. All right. So then we're going to kind of think about how is this laid out? Are there any cadences that we hear? There's definitely one at the end, right? We want something like 5-1 in the at the beginning. Maybe right here we could kind of feel like that's a sort of half cadence. You could kind of go either way with that one, but I kind of feel like this is split into two measure ideas. So so let's go through and figure out. For now, we're just using 1, 5, and 7 diminished. In the wide world of harmonization, you can harmonize everything with 1, 4, and 5. It's just one of the rules. Now we wouldn't necessarily want to. We want to keep things interesting. Throw in a minor 2 from time to time. Throw in a diminished chord. But for the most part, you can do things very easily. And what we want to remember is that we need a progression rather than a retrogression. So a progression would be going from 1 to 5 to 1, right? So easy enough when we're just using 1s and 5s. If we have 4s, then you really want it to go 1, 4, which is a predominant, leads to the dominant, and then go back to 1. If you went to 4 instead and kind of hung around there, that would kind of feel like you were going backwards around the circle of fifths, and doesn't feel as interesting, or, well, maybe not interesting, but it doesn't feel as forward moving as the 1, 4, 5, 1 does. Now you can, in your own music, make choices like that. You say, oh, I think I like this going back to the 4. But for our purposes, let's try and stay progressive rather than retrogressive. So we know at the beginning that this E and this C, we're in C major, they only belong in the C major chord, right? So we can pretty easily say, okay, we're going to use a 1 here and another 1 here. We're just going to figure out the basic chords, and then we're going to figure out inversions. So a 1, and then D and B are both in the 5 chord or the 7 diminished chord. So let's keep it simple. Let's go with 5 and 5, and then we're back to 1, right? Because C only exists in the 1 chord, and D only exists in the 5 chord or the 7 diminished. Let's have that be a 7 diminished. We'll play dangerous here. 7, excuse the little, yeah. And then we're back to 1, and then we probably should have a 5 if we want this to feel kind of like a half cadence. Okay, then we're back to 1. Now we have a choice to make, right? This G could either be part of the 5 chord or it could be part of the 1 chord. So let's kind of think about what it would mean if it was 1. So if we had 1, 1, this E would have to be 1, and then the D is probably going to be 5 to come into that perfect authentic cadence there. So we'd have 1, 1, 1, 5, 1, which would be okay, but it might be nicer to kind of pick up the harmonic rhythm, so the changes of chords, towards the end. So if we have 1 and then 5, and then we'll just repeat those 2, 1, 5, 1. You feel like Beethoven. I'll put a PAC there because we know that we're ending on scale degree 1. We're probably going to go root position 5 to 1. Okay, so if we just put all these in root position, the bass line would be very boring. So let's move things around. One thing that's really interesting to do is voice exchange with the soprano. So if we start on a C, which makes sense, we really want to start in root position unless we have a really good reason not to. So root position 1, and then we, my microphone is falling off the table. There we go. And then maybe we do a voice exchange with the soprano. So we have 1 and then 1, 6. So we moved from the E to the C, and here we move from the C to the E. That's nice. I like it. So then, let's see. We could keep going up to the G. That wouldn't be hidden fifths because the soprano is stepping into it. And then jump down. So it's do, mi, sol, sol, do. Alright, so we know that we generally speaking want to have the 7 diminished chord doubling the third, and often it's found in the first inversion. The first inversion isn't going to work for us here because if we put the D there, we'll have parallel octaves between the C and the D. So I'm going to put it in regular root position, but when we do the middle voices, we're going to have to make sure that we double that D. Alright, and that leading tone in the alto voice has to resolve up. And then, since it's a half cadence, let's put it nicely in root position. Okay, and then we're back to C. And then let's have a 5-6, keep things nice and smooth. Back to 5-1. Oops. Okay, so now I'm going to put the Roman numerals in down there now that we know what's going on. So 1, 1, 6, 5, 5, 1, 7. Oops. Diminished? I don't even know what that is. I haven't used Sibelius in a long time. Alright, there we go. 7 diminished in root position, and then 1, 5, 1, 5, 6, 1, 5, 1. Alright, and I'll take all these out of the middle. Oops. So we can put other voices in. Alright. So if you're feeling really good about this, you don't want to see me do the inner voices. We've kind of gone over what we need to. If you feel like you need more practice at voice leading and making sure everything's good, keep watching, and everything will be good. So let's do our inner voices. Let's start on the C, and then we would probably put the alto on the G. So I'm going to hang around on the C because it's safest to double the root. I need a B and probably another G in this chord. Can't go up to D because that would be parallels with the soprano, so I'm going to have to go down to B. Since it's an inner voice, we don't have to resolve it up. It's always nicer if we do, but actually since there are 2 5 chords in a row, we don't have to resolve it up at all. So let's see if that's going to work. Let's do a little bit of the alto voice and make sure. Alright, so we have G, 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 D. Yeah, we'll jump down to the D. Doesn't have any parallels in there. That gives us a little bit more space to work with. And then the alto will continue with going up to the E. Oh, where's the tenor going to be? Probably high enough to do that D. The F is the 5th of the chord, and that really wants to resolve in with the B. So what we're going to end up is having a chord with 2 thirds, which not ideal, but the voice leading in my mind comes first. So that voice leading between that tritone coming in is nice, and having one chord with 2 thirds isn't going to be that bad. So we'll hop up to the G and we'll pick up the tenor again. So I always like to do the whole soprano voice if I'm realizing figured bass, and the whole bass voice, and then kind of do the alto and the tenor voice stretches at a time, so that if something goes terribly wrong, you don't have to delete too much. So the tenor is going to stick around on the G. This is where we might be in trouble. Can't go up to the C. Alright, tenors, you're gonna have to jump. I apologize. No voice leading rules were broken. It's okay. It's just we're gonna try and avoid too many big leaps like that. So a big jump, we're gonna step back from it. Then we definitely need the B in that chord. Alto's gonna be on a G. Okay. Now we are cooking with gas. Sorry, that's ridiculous. Okay. B, G. All right. Let's see what we've got now with the alto, and then we can listen to the whole thing. G, 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 G. I know, it's an alto part. It's okay. And then the alto is going to come down to the E. All right. Let's listen to this and see what we got. So even with just having 1, 5, and 7 diminished, it's possible to write a nice sounding harmonization. As you found out, there are songs where they just use 1 and 5 pretty much and have some connecting material. So yeah, that's pretty much it. What you're going to do is you look at the melody, figure out what is going to work for each note, and it's pretty easy right now. It will work with one of the two. And then make choices based on what we know sound good in terms of harmonic progression. Okay.